Hi everyone, this is Sheila Landry from tollpaintingdesigns.com. I'm here to bring you a little painting lesson. Today's lesson is going to be this little Halloween ornament teddy bear, and I call him Count Theo for Teddy Theo, and he's a little vampire bear. I thought he'd be an easy way to start doing some fluffy fur. I used my two-part ornament that's bevel cut. I didn't glue this one yet. And my ornaments, the inside is cut on a bevel, so it fits right in, and I call them self-framing. And you get a nice frame and ornament at the same time. They're made of MDF. I didn't paint my back yet, of course. And they're really a nice way to do ornaments, and you could put him probably up in an easel or on a Halloween tree or in the center of a wreath. He'd look cool. So we're going to do different techniques. We're going to do one technique for the background, a crackle technique for the frame, or you could leave it just black if you like, and then some little stroke work and the fur. So I'm going to put him aside for now and show you my pieces. Now I already got started a little bit, and what I always do for MDF is I base coat it with several coats of a neutral color. In this case it was DecoArt's Buttermilk, and it's a nice even tone underneath. And what that does, since the MFD is brown, is it gives you a nice clean base to work on. And it also serves to seal the wood, and I have instructions how you can do that in the pattern. And it gives a nice base so your colors come up nice and true. Now the first layer is the undercoating for the background, and I used true ochre for a gold tone, and I'm going to use the same on just the top of the frame. You don't have to do, I'm going to put this aside, that's dry, till the next thing. And I used a flat brush and kind of just went from the inside radiating out. And this inner edge I decided to do just black. I was going to frame it in gold, but I thought it would look too busy. So you don't have to worry much. Just try not to get a lot of paint built up on that edge. If you do, just kind of blend it in like this. So this is the first coat. This is the undercoat that's going to show through the crackle. There's a chunk. And we're going to go around, and I think I'm going to put another coat on. So you don't have to watch that. You can see I don't have a whole lot of paint, and usually when I undercoat like this, it doesn't cover the base in one coat because I paint very light coats, but that keeps it neat. And the second coat will stick a lot better, and you'll have a lot more coverage with it. So I will cut off now, and I'll be back in a minute when this is dry. Okay, we're back, and I did a second coat on the frame, and yes, you could see it didn't really cover all the way, but it won't matter because it's going to be underneath the black paint, so we don't have to be too fussy about it. We have to choose our battles for fussiness. What I did on the inside part is I used a metallic gold, because I wanted the back to kind of sparkle. And I'll be honest with you guys, I used a metallic gold underneath the frame too, but I know some people have trouble with crackling, and I've had trouble with crackling over metallics because they're a different composition, and it did work on this. I used the DecoArt Extreme Sheen Matte Gold, one of the lighter ones. But in looking at this, I don't want to make it any harder than it has to be. So I think that the yellow ochre will look good under there. It'll probably look just about the same. You don't see enough of the glimmer in it. Now for the red part of the background, we're going to use glazing medium. And we're going to use a Deerfoot stippler brush. I'm going to put this aside. And our red paint. So I'm going to load up my brush with some of the medium, wet the piece down, and then I don't even have to clean the brush. We'll pick up some red paint and then kind of stipple it in. And this will allow some of the gold to show through. And I have a clean paper towel here that I'll take some of the excess off. So my brush is almost dry. And then you could go over and fine tune it and give it a better, I guess, finer look to it. Now it looks a little milky, but the gold should come through a little more. When it dries, it'll look nice. It's a subtle effect. It just looks nice and textured. We don't want to mess with it too much or you're going to get solid coverage. And if you have a problem like that, you could always take some saran wrap, and I've done this before too, and bounce some of it off while it's wet. You still have to have it, you have to have it pretty wet. See how that'll pull? But you can see I don't have a lot of paint on there, and I'm kind of pushing with my middle finger to get the wrinkles up. So I think that looks pretty nice. We're going to leave that, put that part away, and we're going to move on to our frame. Now for that, I'm going to use DecoArt Weathered Wood, which makes deep cracks like this. And I know some people it's their nemesis, but we're going to try again and show. And this is just like a 3/4 inch wash brush that's pretty soft. I've dampened it and I've blotted it, so it's damp but it's not wet. And you can't see the crackle medium, it's clear. And I picked up, you could see how wet the brush is, it's shiny. And I'm going to just pull it in the direction of the outside of the frame. Now there's a chunk, pull that out. And you could see I'm using a light pressure. I'm not going over it over and over. You want a layer down there. Whoops, there we go. There. A decent layer, but not too thick. The thicker you go, the bigger the cracks, but that, I think that applies more for the top layer of paint. So I'm just going to go all around. Now see how quick that is. I'm not going to keep playing with it. Okay? And when that part is done, we're going to let both these pieces dry completely before we go on to the next step. Alright, I believe everything is dry. This is dry. It's the inside. We're going to put that aside for now. And now we're going to add the black over our weathered wood crackle. Now you could see it's dry, but it's, I don't know if you can see a reflection. It's a little bit shiny, which is okay, and it's a little tacky. And I've never found that to hurt it. There's some little blobs that are tackier than others, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to apply the top coat with the wide brush again. This brush is damp, not wet. I usually start painting with a damp brush. Dry brushes just, they suck in the paint, and acrylic paint dries so quickly anyway that it's just not a good thing, I don't think, unless you're doing dry brushing, of course. So I have my black paint here. This is my top coat, and I'm going to put a good amount on about halfway up the brush. And now I always say in my instructions to kind of lay the paint in place. What I mean by that is we're going to go at a nearly parallel angle to what we're painting and just lay it in place. We don't want a big lip here, so go light on the inside. Though you could, if it gets really bad, you could sand it. We're not going to go over and over. It should start to crackle as it dries pretty soon, because the top coat bonds with the crackle medium. You could see little cracks starting to come. And I want the cracks to radiate out from the center on this design, so that's the design I'm pulling this paint in. See how these cracks pull from the center? This is the effect I want. Now, I'm going to work my way around. And you can see there's little lumps there. That's okay. You could go over them quick, but don't fuss with them. It's amazing how you think it's going to be all lumpy and it'll bond to the paint, to the crackle medium, and flatten out. Though you don't want huge lumps, but I mean, you can get away with little areas of thick and thin. Okay, and I'm coming around to the other side, and you could see it's starting to crackle. Now, I didn't go as thick as I did on the sample, so you could see my cracks are going to be smaller, but they're there. And it'll give a creepy little texture to the piece. Now, the thing is to leave it at this point. We're going to let it dry, and then I'll be back again.